Good morning and thank you for joining us. It's a beautiful Saturday morning and this is Sunrise.
I'm Ayo Makinde. Good morning and welcome. And her name is Alero Edu. Yes, she missed that.
No, my name is Ayo Makinde.
No. The last time a co-presenter did that, she almost lost her marriage. So I don't want that to happen to you. You know, you're not Ayo Makinde. You are Alero Edu. I'm Ayo Makinde. Just to be clear, because on the ballot paper, the names are distinct, clear. You know, that we now know the presidential candidates. We have to write out the names. So your name could be, your vote could be invalid. There were the number of invalid votes during the primaries of some political parties. So that's for those who don't have consensus candidates. Why are you looking at me like that?
How? Very exciting week as far as politics was concerned.
No.
Some people didn't go to sleep.
Very busy week.
Was it Wednesday night?
No, very busy week. It was.
Politically speaking.
Politically speaking. Very, very busy, very eventful week. Quite a number of people. In fact, the major political parties, if you like, everyone has to have their presidential candidates before, what's today's date? Yesterday.
Yes, and they all have to send their results all in by next week.
No. The presidential, vice presidential candidates and the presidential, they had to have all of that
Yes,
out.
ready before next week. They have to send them in by next week.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's not my business, not my problem.
Oh, so what is your problem?
Electing the right person. That's my problem.
Well, the right persons have to come forward first. So that's still work in progress,
No,
isn't it?
some persons have to come forward. Then we will choose the right person.
Benny, that one is still work in progress.
Yeah, for which reason, I mean, it's very cheering that there is an upsurge, according to INEC. What's the word they use now? An upsurge, unprecedented upsurge in PVC registration. You know, so...
And I am so glad that many of them are young people.
Yes.
Did you see the crowd at TBS yesterday?
You mean, how different is that crowd from that one at Capitol?
At
the Capitol in the US. I'm just saying.
Please don't go there. You're not, you're comparing apples and oranges. These were not protesting.
No, I didn't say they were protesting. I said the crowd.
Those were. They were doing, that was a crowd, yeah, but it was busy banging on windows, breaking windows. These ones are going to get their permanent voters' cards.
And because they have realized that it's either we get it right or we run the risk again of not doing it right. And that's actually very, very scary. Of course, you remember that last week we had a couple of guests in the studio with us who were telling us about this concert that is going to happen today.
The concert and tonight, yes. Or today.
Yeah, and that INEC is going to be there, quite a number of people are going to be there and all of that. If you want more of that information, you can get them online, I'm sure.
We hear that there were 30 booths.
I mean, they
30 didn't seem to have been enough.
And not only in Lagos now. According to INEC, I said they have deployed something in the region of 209 extra. Machines for the registration in different parts of the country. And that is very, very cheering. So it is one thing to have the voter card. There's something that Samson Otodo said yesterday, and I think Mr. Wali Ugwade. There's a difference between voter education and political education.
Yes, definitely. So it's very clear, isn't it?
Yeah, but many of us, that's lost on many of us.
True.
That's lost on many of us.
They're all going to register so that they can have their permanent voters card. Do they have any idea what they should be looking for in the person they intend to vote for?
And not just the person. You know, we had this conversation before we came on air. You know, this thing about electing our leaders, we may not get it right if we don't understand what's in play. You know, I gave the analogy the other time of a vehicle. I think it was Mr. Peter Obi that was quoted as saying sometime before that Nigeria needs, Nigeria's car engine needs a replacement, and you're looking for a new driver. What happens if you get a new driver? You have to change the engine. Otherwise,
and the car is not doing well.
the car is not doing well. You blame the driver.
You bring a Formula One driver, for instance.
Exactly. To a car, that's not functioning well. So that understanding, we need to get that clear. What is wrong with the system, such that every successive leader, we've only praised that leader after the person has left. What happens to us getting it right with the leader that we have? It's perhaps because the problem is not the leader. The problem is the leadership. So there is a system.
There certainly is a difference there.
Yes. So there is a difference between having one leader who is the right head, and then the next right head close to him is like number 5 or number 6 in the hierarchy of the system.
So it's not just him, it's also his team.
His team. And not just the team as well. What infrastructure or apparatus is the system working with? That's very, very important for us to give attention to as well. So there are those. One of the things that the current vice president said when he first got into office was, look, we need to do something about the civil service. Of course, I think along the line he stopped talking about it. Why? I don't know. Maybe So that's one of the
evil
things.
service.
You missed out the scene.
Well, some people have called it that many times, even on this program. So a minister succeeds or fails depends on the civil servants who are in his ministry, his permanent secretary.
Exactly. So those things are still there. We need to give attention to not just getting the person into office, but the people he's going to work with and the system they are going to work in. Yes, I know. Everything rises and falls on leadership, according to a 2005 book by John Maxwell. But at the end of the day, it falls on leadership, not on the leader.
Leadership, right?
So that's that.
That is political education, right?
Well, I don't know. I just spoke as I felt.
Not just voter education.
Yeah. So
okay, well, it is heartwarming that young people are going out to vote, as we saw, at TBS yesterday, and in many other places. We also heard that centers in Surah, in Alaba, were all crowded, and in fact, there was supposed to be some brouhaha in Alaba market. How they had all shut their shops to go and vote, to go and register. Many of them still couldn't get to register. And that was heartwarming.
Perhaps that's also why INEC said, okay, we got this feedback, we're going to have to do something about it.
Send out more machines. Yeah. And Lagos, of course, is one of those areas.
Yeah, and then there are some jokes around that as well. I saw a video clip of a guy, what's the word we use now, toasting a babe. So the girl, I can do this, I can do that. I have a house.
Yes.
And the girl said, you have your PVC.
So even to toast a girl now, you need your PVC. There you are, without PVC. Nothing for you.
That's to say, okay, the message is getting home. So it's not just enough for us to get the PVCs. Let's also get the pedigrees of the people that we want to elect into various offices. As we said, okay, it was Samson Itodo that was talking about 7 people that we need to elect. I said you forgot their deputies. The deputy governor, vice president, vice chairman. They're also part of the staff. And every Nigerian has.
And the local government chairman.
Exactly.
Yes.
So
yes.
They are your staff.
Yes. So
you need to know where they're coming from.
And Nigerians, we need to remember that all these people are working for us. We are looking to employ them right now. They are working. The office of the citizen is the highest office in the land.
Yeah.
So if they don't do right by us, we have a right to do something. Well, okay, the process is a bit cumbersome, and those who are going to look at it, maybe in a bid to make it simpler, are not going to be willing to do it because it affects them directly.
Well, anyway, we're going to have to get it right because it behoves on all of us. Okay, so that we can have the right meals on our table. Talking about meals, today's menu.
Yes, we're going to start by looking at how to strengthen our political process.
Well,
that's where we begin from this morning.
yeah. And closely related, a focus on parties' internal democracy. That's also going to come.
And then we're going to be looking at World Sickle Cell Day.
Very, very concerning. And then, of course, we have the forum, an international colloquium. Find out what that is about later on.
And as is usual on Sunrise, we shall close with the artist of the week.
Who is
He is a he.
It is a he.
He is a he.
Okay. Why? I just asked a question.
He is a he.
Okay. Not a shim.
What more can I say?
Okay.
Well, maybe when he comes, you can.
When he comes. Oh, it's a he. You said it's a he.
I said he's a he.
Oh, okay. It is no. Okay, he, not it.
And
is.
when he comes, you can check whether he is a shim.
Oh, okay. I don't know about that. I'm not sure I'll have that courage. Please grab something you can use. We'll be right back with you. The message of that song, I guess, would be put to tests during the Ekiti elections, right? It's just a question.
No shishi for bribe.
So, as the Ekiti state governorship election fast approaches, various political parties are holding their party primaries ahead of the 2023 general elections as well. So, we need to check how we strengthen our political process. That, of course, cannot be overemphasized. So, we start today on how our political process can be strengthened as we prepare for the general elections, of course, with our eye on what is adjudged as perhaps the most credible election we ever had in Nigeria, June 12. Moyo Ekundaya joins us this morning. He is a leadership development consultant and organizational strategist. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
I don't even know where to start with you this morning because all of the issues are just coming. First of all, your own assessment of how we as a people did with the primaries of the major political parties in the course of the week gone by.
Well, we had the primaries of the two major political parties, the PDP, the People's Democratic Party, and also the APC, the ruling party.
But we had the Labour Party and NNPP as well?
Okay, yeah. We have the Labour Party, the NNPP as well. But really...
As well as the ADC.
ADC, well, there are so many of these parties now,
Yes.
and it's even good. At least up to about 14 candidates or 15 candidates have come up. But when you look at it, our politics is highly monetized. And this is my concern, which means if you have ideas, but you don't have money, you don't have a chance in the Nigerian politics, in the context we are, and that is saddening.
That song that we played earlier is about 3-4 years old. No? Yeah, about 4 years, 4-5 years old. Are you saying that message hasn't gotten home?
Yes, it has not gotten home because, and I mean, actually, it's not just about the leaders, also the followers. Also the followers, because the followers too, they are not ready to do their civic responsibility unless one way or the other they are induced. Not just the delegates. People look at the delegate now because it's primary. By the time we move to the election, like we are talking about the Ekiti election next week now, it's Saturday that's coming, you see. And incidentally, that's my home state, you know. And I was talking with somebody in Ekiti, you know, somebody, a close relative, and said, how about this election? And that was just about last week or so. And the person and the sister told me that, in the churches we have been told, go and vote according to your conscience, go and do the right thing. You see, and passing the message to somebody in the market. And the person just turned and said, what do you mean? What do you mean? We no, don't preach that to me, sister. Anything they give me now, I'm going to collect it and I'm going to do whatever they ask me to do. So we still have this among the followers.
Mr. Kundayo, between 2019 and now, you will agree that Nigerians have become even more impoverished than before the last election.
That's right.
So you are asking them to vote their conscience. I mean, a market woman who hasn't sold a lot because the prices of her goods are going up and up. So she's getting fewer and fewer customers. So there's less money in her pocket. Cost of living is increasing every day, but her income is not increasing. And you are preaching to her, go out there and vote your conscience. My brother, how is that going to work? When this is her opportunity to collect what she sees as her own share of the national cake.
Now, it is good for Nigerian followers because I'm a followership researcher. I always emphasize on this. As long as we look at the immediate gain, as long as it is, like you said in the common parlance, the boko sebe. That means just get something so that you can make a pot of soup. As long as we look at this ephemeral something, it's just like the biblical Esau and Jacob acting. Esau was hungry, famished, coming in and said, well, I don't care about that right. Just give me this food now. As long, and you know the latter end of Esau, he missed the covenant. So as long as many of the followers, we are fixated on the immediate gain, on what we can get now, and then we switch our votes for that highest bidder, then it means we only have that. How about the future of our children, about our grandchildren? How about the education? How about our health? How about all that area? How about the environment?
So what would you say to those who say that our leaders actually impoverish us on purpose so that they can use us at such a time?
Well, if maybe in the last 10 years, maybe the past decade, but now in this digital age, we need to reset our brain. Nigerians need to reset their brains. And, I have my two daughters in the house. Last week we were talking, and they were all, galvanizing themselves now, to just go and get their PPC. And I was looking at them, is this the right time now? Oh, anyway, you can still do it. It's better late than never. You see, but we're talking and talking. And it's like the youth are disenchanted from all that is playing out. And it's good our leaders are hearing this. They are disenchanted about, PDP stuff, APC stuff. The youth are disenchanted. They wanted the change. You see, but invariably, like what happened in the NSAS, they don't know how to find this way. And I was discussing with my daughters, I look at them, I say, look, the thing is, if you don't go and join political parties, and that is it, whether you like it or not, you have to join them. And not just joining them here, you join them at the world level. You begin to participate with them. You cannot make inroad, especially the popular political parties. Join them. Don't say you are abandoning them. Is it because if you do that for 2023, it's too late. The train has left the station. Maybe 2027. But for 2023, the train has left the station.
I'm happy we are talking about, you raised this now because this conversation is about strengthening our political process. Now, reference June 12th.
Yeah.
1993 was 30 years ago? 30 years ago.
Yeah, about 30 years.
Okay. 30 years ago. And you talked about us planning for the future.
That's right.
Now, June 12 was a landmark. It's one we will never forget. It's etched in our history, political history as a country. Thankfully, this government has recognized it and all of that. Are there lessons in this 30 years ago, almost 30 years ago, that are useful for us today? Back then, all of the dice was against the person that's claimed to have won the election. He was an inexperienced politician. He had a Muslim ticket. The National Assembly at the time had more people in the opposition party as opposed to his own SDP. The NRC dominated the National Assembly at the time. So what are the lessons that we may have lost into history over the past 30 years? As a people, a sizable number of people who are in leadership today were young, much too young at the time. So what are the lessons that you think we need to draw from that 30-year history that might still be useful for us now?
I want to just let you know, Ayo, just like Auntie Alero was saying the other time, from the premise she was coming from before asking the question. The economy has worsted many things. That's the language that we use. You see, and unfortunately, that is it. And politicians, they are playing on this. Unlike those years you refer to, how much was, common item being sold in the market at that time.
Even at that time, you remember that the 1979 government had an economy. By the Obasanjo government that handed over to the military, the civilian government of Shagari, had an economy. That Shagari government began to complain of a bad economy.
But they came up
to you then. They came up with the austerity measures because things were getting worse. Now it was because things weren't getting any better that the military took over at the time, pointing accusing fingers at the politicians of the day. So it's not like, that's why I said one of the things that we said in the opening is that, look, we seem to praise the previous government every time.
Now, let me just cut in. There's something there, there's a missing link there that we need to know. Let's even leave the economy issue alone. Values, we need to come to it now. Values at that time, values of average Nigerian at that time, what you value, what I value, has changed over time.
Start with life.
Yes. You see, people value, look at the time of the leadership of Obafemi Awolowo. Conversing all about, there was nothing about money. You see, people in the Southwest, Ekiti, Ondo, and all the rest of the people, what are you doing for us? Free education, free health. I still remember the 4 cardinal programs. And you could see crowd of people in his campaign, the campaign train all over at that time. So it was a kind of value, you see Nigerian followers. And that is, we have to revert back to that. That's a useful lesson. We have to revert back to that now. To value, can we look at the pedigree of this personality? What has he done for us before? Can he make it to happen again? It's not about he has come with money. Oh, he's come with a war chest. Oh,
are you saying that we don't ask those questions these days?
Yes, and Auntie Alero, we need to be asking those questions. We need to be asking, what's the pedigree of this person, this personality? What has he done before? What office has he occupied?
When do we have the opportunity to ask that question? Because you talked about delegates.
We have the opportunity.
Just a second. You tell me where that opportunity is, because we have a delegate system, right? And the delegates are in the political parties.
Yeah.
So if we are going to ask those questions, at what point do we, the followers, begin to ask those questions?
Good. And that's why I said, referring to the youth. And now let me now say, all inclusive, apart from the youth. We need to, because this one we are saying now, like you are right, for 2023 is gone. Because we have the presidential candidates are determined. But going forward, the average...
No, Mr. Akundayo, I do beg your pardon. I beg your pardon.
Okay.
To butt in. The presidential candidates are now being put forward by their parties.
Yes.
But we have not voted.
Yeah. Good.
And we are the ones who are going to determine which of those people who have been put forward is going to be our president.
But do you know what, Auntie Alero? We are already to side with Ayo on that. We are already being constrained to choose between these 15 candidates to be our president. That is the danger.
How?
Okay, I will tell you. Now, you see, the way it works is with all these candidates now, definitely in democracy you will choose. And democracy is a game of number. So at the end of the day, is this 15 people, I'm not sure, 15 or 16 candidates, one of them will match as the president.
Okay.
And if I may tell you something here that will shock you, which later you will say, yes, I said that. Because as a researcher, I've looked at it from 1999 to 2019. And this is it. That's where Nigeria has to watch it. Among the 2 most popular political parties, either of them is our president. So take it or leave it. Yes, even though the third force, they say they are galvanizing now, wait, hold it. You have your own perspective. You see, but that has likely play out. Unless 2023 will be an exception. But it will be an exception.
Mr. Akundayo.
Yes.
People have been saying that they are tired of these 2 parties. Doesn't that count for anything?
It was said that in 2019, Auntie Alero, 2019. It was said, the same thing was said. 2011, the same thing was said. You see, but You see, the way the things play out, let me tell you, by the time we enter into the campaign trail now, you begin to see it. You begin to see people changing. Money inducement will come in. Other things will come in.
That's all right.
So that is why I'm saying, looking forward, 2027, it is time, especially I'm speaking to the youth now, if they really desire change, then they should be thinking of organizing, I've said it on this program before, organizing their own group together. They may not even form a party yet, but a group that will be identified, a group that will begin to speak to the conscience of the nation.
Okay. Dr. Pner, one of the things that has played in my mind is, what we're talking about here is strengthening our political process. What has been missing over the past few years is that of trust in the system. Right. And because the system hasn't thrown up the kind of people that generally a good number of people can have confidence in and say, okay, this fellow is going to deliver the goods to Nigerians and all of that. And, just as we said earlier, at the beginning of the program, we select one person to govern at the federal level, one person in each state to govern at the state level, but they work within systems. Is it a problem of the systems not delivering, or the visionlessness of the inadequate vision or lack of whatever it is, lack of it that is not making the people we elect, the top leaders, perform as we expect, or we're expecting too much of individuals, single individuals, when they have a defective system to work with?
We have not really held our leaders accountable over time, irrespective of the political platform. You see, and that is a call out to followers. It's not just putting them there and then we realize, oh, election have been won. How many House of Assembly members have constituency office? How many House of Rep members have constituency office? Functional one. Even those who are in leadership position in the National Assembly, how many senators have constituency office? Now, do we demand from them quarterly, you should be having a town hall meeting with us? Or even if it is maybe based on six-month basis, biannually, you come here, we tell you, we don't even see them. And you know what? Like one senator was saying in the Southwest, I won't mention him now on this program, when the person was called upon and said, well, you have not done anything for your constituency. And she retorted back by saying, what else do they want? During the time of the election, they were asking me for money, and I gave them, and that's all. And that settles it. And for that one, you can't see any constituency, no dialogue, no town hall meeting. So what are we saying? So you can see that many of our representatives, they just represent themselves. They stand for themselves. And that is a fallout of the system. And it should not be tolerated going further. Even in 2023, we should hold our leaders accountable. If you're in the House of Assembly, then we should hold them accountable. If you're in the House of Rep, the same thing, Senate. Even our governors, what stopped them from having town hall meeting with us every quarter, to report back? And they have manifesto, they have agenda, and the citizens should engage them based on that manifesto. Sir, you say you will speak, you will do this, you will start this. We have not seen you starting. Let him explain. Let her explain. And that's it. Then we'll be going forward.
Do you think that the people are, they have enough understanding of what is required of them as citizens who have elected these members of rep, these senators, these governors? Do you think we have a full understanding of the power that we have to interrogate them, as you have said, and to make them accountable?
I agree with you, Auntie Alero, because...
It's a question.
No, it's a question. Let me answer it this way. Really, it's a thing I've been saying, that our followers need to be equipped. They need to be empowered. With that, they will be emboldened. You see, like you said, which I agree with too, many of the followers are not educated politically. I'm not talking, even the elites. Most elites, professors, doctors, engineers, lawyers. You see, we need to see active MBA, Nigerian Bar Association, participating actively, telling us some things about the law, or they are quiet now. Honestly, Nigerian Medical Association, it's not when you need salary increase. What is it? When the train has left the station. When you put wrong people in places, what do you want? You should be able to even have a say, becomes the minister of health. That's what we are saying. When they know you are powerful in NMA, they want to consult you. Now, look at it now. The Khan is saying you can't have a Muslim ticket. And now the politicians they are running at us because they know the influence of Khan. They know the influence of PFN. The same thing, NMA, MBA, all these professionals. Now, and the civil society organization too, their voices should be loud, towards all this, so that we begin to now educate the followers on their rights, on what they need to know. INEC can come here, the National Orientation Agency, I've said it before, I'm saying it again, they have been so cold and so silent.
Dormant.
Dormant or docile. It is time for them to, if they need more funds, let them tell the government. Even they can even get funds from outside the country.
There's something you said.
To do this.
Yeah, there's something you said earlier, Dr. Knell, about Ekiti State, for instance. But it's just an instance, but it's something that's perhaps all over the nation. The level of poverty and the level of education. People are where they are. And there is very little, if anything, really we can do to radically move people out of where they are without a systemic process, to that. In terms of strengthening, I go back to that question, our political process. In order to evolve the set of leaders Nigerians need, not can have, need, what is missing in the process? You've spoken to political education just now, but then how interested are people in that? Just as you said, what happens in Ekiti, Dibo, Sebe.
So that happened last.
So,
it won't happen now.
Okay, it will still happen. You say?
No, I say it won't happen. It will
are you
not
sure?
Happen.
Are you are very confident?
People are more impoverished now.
They are more impoverished, but there is a kind of enlightenment. There's a kind of campaign going around, and I was in Ekiti January, and some other months like that. There's a kind of campaign in churches, in schools, all over. That let's look at the future. You see, enough of stomach infrastructure. Let's look at the future. You see, during the days of Baba Awolowo, like I've said it before, I'm saying it again. Free education was given to us. He promised the Ondo people, Ondo State people. Then Ekiti State was in Ondo, and we could see that there was free education. I enjoyed that. I passed out from a secondary school where I was given free textbook, where I didn't pay school fees. So it is time for people to begin to value that. You see, when we value that, there will be a kind of a change, a paradigm shift, because we know that we'll get this thing, and if we get credible people in position that we know their pedigree before, they will not lie to us, then definitely people will not be asking for money or inducement before voting. And through that, it's a process. We'll be able to change the orientation, the mindset of the people. You see, until we get to that we begin to value, see things with the big picture, not the immediate gain. I will keep on saying that. But followers need to be educated politically.
This is so in terms of this education.
Yes.
What do they need to know? I mean, this is not just Ekiti. Ekiti is just an example.
Yeah.
There's Bauchi, there's Borno, there's Katsina, there's Sokoto, there's
Edo,
there's Taraba, there's Niger,
Sokoto,
so many other states. There's Zamfara. Those with the highest poverty figures, those with the lowest employment figures, and all of those things. And those in the deep rural areas where there is no semblance of government, and the only thing they want is to live per day. How do we educate those people?
Now, you know what? As you are speaking, something just flashed my mind, and I want to say this. A delegate was present. A delegate was induced and given a lot of money. You read about that. And he went to his constituency, and he looked at the orphans, and he looked at the less privileged, and share this thing with them. That's a kind of this thing that should be seen as, oh, look. You see, although you may say the guy maybe has a political ambition in future, whatever, you see, but it is high time that people begin to value. I will still return to our values. We need more and more people to come out. The human rights crusaders, human rights critics, let's go back to preaching value again.
Who is going to preach that value? Because the values people see now, you understand that what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The values people see now is, I was poor, now I'm rich. I was blind, now I see.
Yeah,
That's
good.
what they can see. These things that you're saying, they are in the Constitution. So
Yeah.
who is going to preach values?
It has to start from our mosques. It has to start from the churches. Messages have to be changed. Yes, in the churches, in the mosque. It shouldn't just be about, you give, you get. We have to go back to the basics of the two basic religion. Even the traditional religion, the Omoluabi ethos is there. That if you do good, good will follow you. It's there. Even in all the religions. So we need to, even in schools, the curricula of the primary schools need to change. We need to go back to our history. Some of these places, they have removed history from the. We need to go back. Let people know our history. Let them know our founding fathers. Let them know what they stand for. Like that. Market men and women, there is time to begin to infuse them, to align them, like that. And then we begin to have. It's going to be a process. Then we are going to have a society that will have a
Mr. Kunayo, you said they should start from the churches.
Yeah.
Don't forget that some churches now they also are facing trust issues when the GOs or pastors or whatever have come out clearly and said they heard from God directly that they are going to take over from this president and that president, and such didn't happen. It didn't happen.
You want me to comment on that?
Yes, and these are the people you want now to start educating. You want the people to put their trust in such persons.
Now, we won't start on this individual basis. Like I was talking with somebody who happened to have something to do with politics in Cannes and the rest. You see, and I told them, I said, clearly, you have missed 2023. And he said, yes, it's like I was in that meeting. I said, no, I didn't need to know. But me as a politician, you have missed it. You see, and I know it will fall this way. I know. You see, I'm a minister also. People watching me now. I know. You see, because there are a lot of things about political education that the church doesn't understand. Maybe even they must understand better than us. Let me say it that way. Yes, and it pains me, it saddens me. You see, when some people are projecting and they are saying something, what do you know about the political process? You see, what do you know about the delegate system? You see, for us following them, I did a kind of, what to call ethnography research. I was in the midst of this delegate, an aspirant, in Ekiti, in 2018 election. And I could see what was happening. So for you sitting down in your church and you collected a form of 100 million, and so what? And you sat down and you are sending bulk SMS message. In this present Nigeria, in this context we are in, oh, you already know your score, what we have. Even those people who labor and labor and labor.
Zero.
What did they get at the end of the day? Talk less of somebody who sit down and who sat down. I was praying, prayer point, and you are raising a prayer champions praying for you. Politically, it does not work. And
well, I guess, it's not May 29, 2023 yet. So yeah. I guess, that date is yet to come. We'll have to wait for it. But we have to thank you for now, Dr. Moyo Ekudaya, Leadership Development Consultant and Organizational Strategist. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for the time this morning.
Morning.
Well, we're not done talking politics this morning because that's pretty much everything that we are about. So we switch to something closely related when we return from this break. Please stay with us.
The political atmosphere has been charged in the last few weeks, you may have noticed. And, hot in the news right now is the convention of the ruling party, the APC, which took place on Wednesday. And it threw up all kinds of questions, one of which was, how sound is the internal democracy of our political parties? We saw that the day before there was an announcement about a consensus candidate, and then some people came out and said no, they had not agreed to any consensus. And that went on, and some people made speeches that said that the system, the process was not free and fair, and they had been hard done by. So all of these are things that we need to talk about so that we can strengthen our political process. which was where we started from this morning.
And that hopefully internal democracy, strong or viable, veritable internal democracy will enshrine trust. You know, we're asking more and more people to come into the system. Those who are already used to how things work in a particular way.
Benny.
You're going to get into it as
the way that they do it. When we say, na dem.
This is a slippery slope. I can't live with that. So,
na dem.
Okay.
Well, it's my pleasure to welcome Tanko Yunusa, National Chairman, National Conscience Party, who joins us from our studio in Abuja. Morning.
Good morning, Auntie. How are you? Good morning, Ayo.
We are very well, thank you. We hope you're the same. And in the studio in Lagos, we have a legal practitioner, Mr. Tony Daniel, and both will help us look at this topic today.
Good morning.
Now, let me start with the politician. National Conscience Party. First of all, have you had your convention yet?
Oh, no. We are actually in court with INEC pertaining to the issue of registration and deregistration. And then, interestingly, our case has been in court since last year, December. We were told that the judge would give a judgment on our case. Unfortunately, the judge was transferred to Kano. We tried to find out what's happening to the case. So up to now, we are still waiting for the case to get through.
Oh, dear. That sounds like bad news to me, because by next week, all the presidential candidates and their vices should have been submitted to INEC.
Well, that is another issue, and then the judgment had to be given at least to make sure that we are on the ballot, and at the same time, the whole system is free and fair on the part of the INEC, and at the same time for the political parties who are seeking to have their own candidate to run for elections, as the case is at the moment.
Well, Mr. Daniel, because I was going to ask you about internal democracy in your party, but since not much is happening in your party right now, you may not be able to answer that question, or can you?
So I've been in party administration for as long as I can remember, and I'm the former Interparty Advisory Council Chairman in 2015. So with regard to internal party democracy, I can tell you I am well grounded.
Okay, well, we'll come back to you, but let's just have the opening comments of Mr. Daniel on this. First of all, perhaps there are many people who have been told, have heard it from all kinds of sources, that those who can should get into politics, because waiting to vote in the right person is what someone described as the end of the food chain. It should be in the process, so you're not waiting at the end of the food chain to get it. You're part of the process of preparing the food, so to speak. So in terms of getting more and more people into the political process, into the political parties, so that they can be more active and do what they believe needs to be done for us as a nation, where do you see us there, and how enticing, how appealing is that to so many people who are not members of a political party now? Talking about internal democracy.
Yeah, first, internal democracy means, in a party, means allowing members of the party to join in taking decisions of the party. But we've seen a situation where big members and rich members take control of decisions of the party. And then it will look like it is the party. You know, we have this issue with the new Electoral Act, Section 87, actually, which directs that parties should do direct primaries. And then, but most actors prefer to do indirect primaries, because that gives the governors and some leaders, so to say, of parties to decide who gets elected or who gets nominated for election within the primaries. Well, both have advantage and disadvantages. One, I think the federal government or the president or the National Assembly want a situation where decision of candidates that represent parties is, a joint decision or a decision reached by majority of members of the parties. But it's difficult to achieve that. We've seen what plays out recently. And you see, the apathy we have seen among electorates over time is because of the system. But if you notice, there is an ongoing political revolution now. If you check after the primaries and now, if you do the statistics, you will realize that so many persons who have hitherto not voted, who have hitherto not been registered, or those who are registered but they don't go to vote, you see them clamoring to either obtain their PVCs or to update the ones they have. So we are going to see a change. I have seen a political revolution, So back to your question, what happened within the primaries that have so far been conducted, particularly by the big parties, has now gingered, and then let me use your word, attracted, enticed people to now come into the system. People are now saying enough is enough, because we all saw that if you are big and you are rich, that's all it takes to win. Not if you are sound, not if you are good. Because with respect, if I looked at the primaries of the ruling party, the best speech to me is the speech from the vice president. But, it was not considered at all. Then look at PDP primaries. It is an open secret that it was trading. Open trading. The highest bidder got it. Now, what are you left with? You are left to come in and say it is not all about money. In my place, I know people now know that there's power in your phone. You don't need to go out there to make noise. From your phone, you can reach a lot of persons. A lot of WhatsApp platforms are coming up. People are now saying, let's forget about money. People are now bringing out their own money. I want to refer you to what happened in the first election of Barack Obama. It was the Americans that said, no, they started contributing their own money to help him. So we are seeing a situation where there will be shockers in the next election.
Okay. Mr. Unisa, you began the other time by saying, and of course, you've been around, been there, done that, as they say, especially when it comes to political party administration and all of that. Taking from what Mr. Daniel just said, for those who are interested in getting into the system to strengthen the internal democracy, the internal party democracy, what are the hurdles that you would say that they need to contend with? There is, as he said, a political revolution going on now. People just want to get into the system. There are those who have shipped in and shipped out because what they met was anything compared to what they expected to get. So in terms of party democracy, what are the internal party democracies? What are the things people need to expect so they are not disappointed when they get in?
Well, quickly, in sharing knowledge, our electioneering in Nigeria or any part of the world had a little bit like maybe 3 steps. The first step, actually, before the internal democracy, as he said, internal democracy is actually election that takes place within the party. And we have like 3 tiers of steps into our electioneering. First, you have the caucusing. 2, then you have the internal party democracy. Then 3, you have the general election. In caucusing, what happened within the party is that some people may have an idea or aspiration. Then they start tinkering within their circle. And then they agree, I have the capacity to do this. Then they support that particular person while he's preparing to run in the election. That is in the internal party democracy. There in the party, there are 4 documents that guide the internal party democracy. One, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Secondly, the party constitution. 2, 3, the Electoral Act, then the bylaws. These are laws that guide internal party democracy. Of course, internal party democracy in its own translates into the larger elections. Once that is done, it is in that particular internal democracy that election will be conducted before the general election. The party will bring out guidelines of the candidate from different caucuses and say, look, this is how we can conduct election within the party. But it's important here to note that for an internal party to be very strong, members of the political party must own the system. That is where we are lacking here in Nigeria at the moment. Majority of the party members are only interested or supporting a particular candidate who have been able to support them or give them certain X amount of money. Is not basically on ideology that we used to have in the past.
Is that,
so
Mr. Unisa, just a quick one,
on
that one, isn't that a sign of weakness within the political, internal political party structure?
No. What really happened is that members are supposed to be paying dues, and the members are not paying dues, so they don't own the party. The people that own the political parties are mostly those who are already in power.
That's the
or those
point.
Who have been able, who have
That's the point, Mr. Unisa. As you said, members are supposed to pay dues. If they do not pay dues, that means they are not part of the party, because you can't be a part of a system that you do not invest in. I mean, that's the ideal thing to say. You work in Nigeria, you earn a salary, but you are working in Nigeria to make the country better. That's the assumption. At least that's the expectation. So if they're not paying dues, is there a penalty within the political party that if you don't pay dues, there is a consequence?
Okay, now, let me add to your knowledge, Ayo. What really happened is this. Majority of those who want to run for elections come in with the money and pay for members on their own, like give contributions for a particular group of people, an individual, and say these are the X amount of money for my people. So you see, they control the people rather than the people themselves, individually, paying for that membership card and owning the process by themselves and rejecting a particular person guiding them or protecting them or being a godfather to them. What we have now is individuals with the humongous sums of money directing the interests of the people. So it becomes difficult. And that is the reason why party politics is different from general election. When I had my brother talking about Professor Osibajo being the best speaker, it's not about being the best speaker. In internal party democracy, how well grounded is Osibajo? You can find out that he has no structure within the party at all. Those who have been oiling the machinery of the party are those who control the structure. Like the one that happened in, you can see what Asiwaju Tinubu was able to do. Over the years, he has been able to control the structure. I give you an example of what happened to me particularly. I ran an election in the FCT, and then I belonged to a political party. So somebody came from another political party, was able to build the structures of the party. What I mean by building the structure, he was buying and paying for offices on behalf of the party. He built that particular party. I came in as a new member, even though I was paying my dues, but he has already been known within the party structure. So when I came to run for the election, what happened? It was an option A4. I brought my members to come and vote for me. I just went to pray. Before I come back from my prayer, they've already jumped to the other queue, because the other person has been paying them money. I don't give money because my training does not say that I have to pay individual money to vote for me.
Well, Mr.
I want to set my idea and believe in the system.
I guess it also goes to something some people will say lesson learned. But there is a question you've raised now when you say, when you try to define a party structure in a particular way. It seems that party structure revolves around money. Let me ask you, Mr. Daniel, yes. Is that what it is?
It is peculiar to Nigeria, where parties are owned by the rich members. But you see, what we are getting into now, we must thank God for Nigeria, because we are having a very peaceful political revolution. Right now, people are voting without considering parties. People will vote without considering parties. They will look at the best candidate. Nigerians are tired. Go out there, ask. Nigerians are getting tired of what we call the old order, the structure that makes few persons to continually impose who they prefer on the masses because they feel everybody has a price. Nigerians have said, we cannot be sold anymore.
Mr. Daniel, the elections have not come, and they're not holding until next year.
Yes, what I'm saying is...
You are speaking with such conviction.
Yes, you know.
I am going to tell you that when the elections come, people will still accept a half bag of rice, 5,000 naira, and some packets of Indomie to vote for people.
My dear,
because
look at
hunger. There is hunger in the land.
now. To kill that hunger, certain decisions must be taken. I am telling you, Nigerians are in the process of taking that decision. Now, if it will cost, do you know that the number of persons already registered before the primaries are less than 10% of our population? About 10%. Now,
since then,
good. Go and now calculate the number of persons that have registered after the primaries.
Yes.
Go and check the INEC polling unit. You'll be surprised at the upsurge. Nigerians have woken up. They are conscious now of their right. Every person has realized that. How many of them are the agberos, the area boys, the market women that are usually used in an election? This time around, it will be different. You understand me? I remember.
Mr. Daniel, I
yes.
guess what you're saying or where you're going, but this conversation is about internal party democracy.
Yeah, talking
Let's
about
stay
internal
there.
party democracy.
Yes.
You see, we can cope the violence that usually follow elections if the democracy is properly entrenched in the parties. You understand? Because when few persons take decision, and then like you rightly said, we have the Constitution that guides all the laws and activities in the country. We have the Electoral Act that also tend to even guide the parties. You understand? Then the party laws must be made subject to the Electoral Act and the Constitution. But we have what we call deliberative forum. That is where popular opinion is heard. The essence of the amendment is to entrench democracy. But again, the argument is that if INEC is to monitor direct primaries, INEC is already overwhelmed with the duty. They can't even carry out all their duties. Now you want them to supervise direct primaries, whereas what used to be was, you know, few persons as usual deciding. So what we need to do is to get the party leaders to look for a way of sponsoring their activities. Otherwise, the few that brings money to the party will continue to determine what happens in the party and undermine internal democracies in the party.
We had this system work for us before. In the First Republic, in the Second Republic, even in the Third Republic, which was legislated.
Yes.
The parties were legislated for us. People owned the parties.
Yes.
People paid their dues. People did their parts.
Yes.
In that time.
Yes. When we have
in the Second Republic, 79 to 83, I remember there are a number of people who will say, look, I still have my party membership card.
Yes.
And there is a way you tick, you pay to the party you ticked, that you have paid to the party. What Mr. Unisa is saying that today, what exists is that Alero is a superwoman in the party, and she comes with a retinue of, say, like 1,000 people, and she pays the dues for every one of them, and of course, who pays the piper?
Constitution.
So how do we reverse that trend so that political party internal democracy can help strengthen our democracy itself?
Is to stop those powerful, rich party members from donating to the party.
How do you do that?
It's to legislate it. Because if you say you leave it to the parties, they can't.
At the end of the day, Mr. Daniel, let's be realistic here.
Yes.
At the end of the day, we heard of a governor in the same country who bought forms for all local government chairmen in his state to go and contest elections. And of course, are they going to come from the opposition party in the state? Do you understand what I'm saying? So I'm wondering, how do we do that when these fellows have the war chest, as they call it in some cases? So the money is there and everything. Is anyone paid for by a godfather going to come out and say, it was my godfather that paid for me?
No. You see, you are making it sound like there's no solution. There's no problem without a solution. Whereas I agree with you that it might be very difficult to sort it out. And that's the truth. But we can sort it out. And the only way to do it, because if you leave it to the parties to revolve and take care of it, it will be difficult. The powerful and the rich persons who, with respect, stole from the Commonwealth, will continue to use that money to influence the internal party structures. So what we can do, because I remember when we had the open option A4, it was just 2 parties, and it was legislated. It was just NRC and SDP. But now we have multiple parties, and parties are now formed, not with respect to the other parties, not with the intention of formulating policy to help the country, just to be seen that they have a party, and then come out and then see if they can obnob with bigger existing parties. So I would suggest that just like we're trying to legislate on how to conduct primaries for parties, we should, because ordinarily we are not supposed to legislate. If they have been following normal internal democracy, we don't need to force them on how they do it, But we want a situation where majority will be carried along when you are taking decision for a party. And then that will prevent the violence that usually come after primaries and elections. So I would suggest that the National Assembly should consider further legislating it, that payment or contribution, even if they want to do it now, it will be illegal. And then and they will be careful. But then the law is there. And if the umpire has decided to take action against those who flout the law, they can arrest them.
Okay.
Yes.
So
I
what
think
you're
we should
saying
legislate it.
is that the money bags should be prevented from paying bulk monies for members.
Exactly. And
Each member should be compelled to pay
his
his
own
dues.
dues. And if you don't legislate it, it will be difficult for you to achieve that.
Mr. Unisa, do you think that is doable?
Possible.
Told you.
Very, very impossible.
Unless you legislate
The truth
it.
about it is that the political parties do not have any seeded money by anybody or any government or any persons, apart from the one that generates. They generate from the so-called big politicians who have a lot of money. At a point in time, I have been advocating that certain X amount of money as a seeded money should be given to political parties, just like what is done in other developed countries, in the Americans and all. They have seeded money. That helps them to be independent. Once the party is not independent, there is no way it can stop anybody from giving its money to the party. Well, in the NCP, when we started, we had this particular Ghani make sure that there's a particular limit in which people can donate so that they cannot donate beyond a certain amount of money. But then at the end of it all, many people are not even paying the membership due. But what we have at the moment now, which I keep on educating or trying to encourage people, especially the youth. I saw a video a while ago where there's a large number of youth going to collect their PVC. Yes, it's good, but they left it too late and they didn't start on time. The most important thing anybody who wants to revolutionize this politics in Nigeria should do, number one, is to ensure that you belong to a political party. If not all, but at least a sizable number of the youth should belong to the political party. The reason is this. When you belong to that political party, in the internal party democracy, decisions that are going to be taken, you will be part of it. E.g., before you can get a delegate, it is what we call a direct primary that happens to produce an indirect person that will go and represent you. Meaning that when you want to have a delegate, there must be an election within the political party that's part of internal democracy that will produce the delegate. But if you are not part of that political party, you cannot be able to make a decision of who represents you as a delegate. Whether he will go there and collect the dollars or whether he will follow the beautiful speeches or convincing statements that were made by any of the Ghanaians.
Mr. Unisa, are you confirming that
is the beginning.
Money changes hands, that, dollars are shared?
Everybody knows.
Oh, I will have given you, I can't tell you that, okay, this is the proof, but everybody knows. In fact, there was a video that already comes out that a person who was a delegate at a convention was able to generate so much money, and thank God for him, he has God in his mind. He came and donated the money that he made at the convention to children of his own village to pay for their schools. So those are the kind of person that do. So it was confirmed that money was paid in and people were collecting money. And that is the reason why I will encourage young boys and girls to go. Why they are going for their PVC, they should join the political party. The revolution that you are seeing now is one of the things that have been enhanced by candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, who have been able to resonate closely with the Nigerian youth and then Engineer Rabi Musa Konkosu, who was able to also resonate, because these particular people were able to send messages to the people that this is what they have been doing, this is what they have done over the years. And that is what you are seeing being translated into the humongous support that they are getting from both youth and the people on the grassroots. These two individuals has created a revolution, a very strong revolution. My wish is that both of them could be able to get together and work together so that we can get the new political dispensation that we're asking for. But I must warn here. The warning here is this. People think that probably by collecting their PVC, they will go and vote. It doesn't work like that. Because if you belong to a political party in an internal democracy, you'll be part of the decision makers that will take place on the ward. Remember, voting comes from the wards. And in the wards, that is where people will go out to campaign for their candidates and mobilize. They take decisions, even if they are going to be involved in thuggery and all, they know what they are doing. But if you are not part of it, you will not know exactly what they are doing, what they are planning. So it is best for our youth to take this opportunity within now and before the election take place. They should go and register as party members of the political party of their choice, supporting their candidate. That way, they are fully involved in the internal democratization of the processes that take place within the party, and any processes that they are going to take, any decision that they are going to take, they are part of it. Because when you have that, you have major issues, major important things that will come at advantage to you. One, you have a right for litigation. Two, you have a right for any kinds of decision that will be taken in that political party. If it's not in your interest, you can be able to challenge it. But once you are out of that political party, you lose those particular status as a member of a political party. You cannot be able to challenge some of the decisions that we are taking, because a lot of decisions take place within the party, especially in the world. And what you are saying now may be a block vote that will come from the Nigerian youth from certain part of the country. What about the other part of the country? That's why sometimes when you are in an election, you will see that results are being brought by a particular ward. Then before you know it, the result will be brought from another ward that will just completely sweep the other one. Then you'll be wondering, how did this magic happen? It does happen because the political party have done their calculation between the wards and the local government. So if you are part of the member of the political party and you have a good saying within the political party, certain decisions that will be done against your interests will not be done. So it is important, I repeat, that all those youths that believe in the change that we are all asking for, changing the change as the new mantra is, we should go out en masse, go and join the political parties in your wards. Go and join the political party in your ward. While you are trying to get the PVC, use that opportunity also to take party membership from the ward. That is where the challenge is. That is where the pillar of corruption and manipulation starts. Once you can get it off the system, you cannot change the situation as we find ourselves today. You cannot change it from the top. It won't happen.
Mr. Yunus, in parentheses, you advocated earlier that the government should give the parties seed money.
Yes.
Isn't that a tall order? Because there's so many political parties. Are they going to give seed money to all of them?
Exactly. Sister, let me say this. Is it better, or what we are seeing now, where some individual can steal government posts to the point of stupor, and then use the same money to flash it on our faces, paying 100 million naira as a due to be paid for a ticket, while Nigerian students are out there, they are not going to school. Hunger is so prevalent in the system, and yet our economic situation is so bad. There's no employment, there's no power, because these people have been able to mobilize themselves and connive with their cronies to steal our collective matrimony. And then why don't you imagine if you have been able to give each of the political party their own seeded money, just like done in America. For example, the candidate in the US who ran election, Obama, for example, was supposed to be, McCain collected $40 million US. And then Barack Obama opted not to collect that amount. He preferred to get support from the public, where he was able to generate almost $150 million for his election. But there is a seeded money that makes the party independent. The laws that you want to ensure can only be done when you are having money in your hands. It's just like you employing somebody and giving him 100 naira as an accountant.
These political parties, Mr. Yunusa, were not founded by government. They were founded by people. So I'm at a loss for that, but maybe because I don't understand how political party administration works.
Yes, I want to say something. First,
let me make a clarification.
Just a second, Mr.
First,
Yunusa.
we can regulate the number of parties. It is too much. Every person just comes out. If you have little money, register with INEC, you have a party. We should regulate and cut down the number of parties. That is one. Two, that
is by legislature again.
Yes, by law, we have a possibility of independent candidates, where a person is not a member of any party and he can contest. And then if you look at what happened in Edo State that brought in Obaseki, it was not because, with respect, that Obaseki was better, but because people feel Oshomole cannot impose somebody on us. Let's all go out. They were not, many of them are not party members. So what I'm trying to say is that in as much as I encourage people to register, I don't want people to be discouraged from voting for their candidate, their choice. It doesn't stop you from voting.
But perhaps the point he's making is the waiting to the end of the food chain that we talked about. But they said if you are involved in the internal democracy, you would, being a decent person yourself, insist on decency in the entire process.
I agree. What I'm saying is that I agree with him totally that we should join any party of our choice. But I am saying that that does not stop the electorate who is not a party member in a general election, not a party election.
Most certainly.
Of course. So, I don't want the people hearing us to misconstrue that. They should go out and get their, PVCs. And they are encouraged to join party. But even if they are not members of any parties, they can go out and vote in accordance with their conscience.
Okay.
I didn't want to say this before, but I agree with him that the person to beat, to me, I'm not campaigning, is Peter Obi.
Okay. Well, Mr. Yunusa, the point you're trying to make the other time, I don't know if you want to go back to that now, because there are those who are wondering, hey, the political parties were not formed by government like the SDP and the NRC. They are formed by people who had interests in them. There's that. Maybe you want to even educate us, just as you said the other time, expand my knowledge of whether or not government funds political parties.
Okay. Somewhere before we started as a political party, Gani took the case to court and said that, look, we don't need to pay any money to INEC to run for an election, because there are taxpayers' money already being provided for INEC to use to prepare for the elections. Before, you will pay like 1 million naira or 2 million naira if you are a candidate. But we were able to succeed through Gani Fawemi benevolence that we challenged the court, and then today, as we speak, nobody pays any money to INEC to contest elections. That way, what it simply means is that it's the taxpayers' money that me and you have been able to use that will propel us to contest that particular election. In that case, government has hand in it because it is our own money. So it is the government is ours. It's not another person's. The contribution that we make to the government post is ours, not another person. So if the government statutorily makes sure that they have a seed money, I didn't say that you take care of the political party entirely. I say seed money. This seed money take care of some of the money that you use in paying for agents. Here you are, Ayo. Do you know that an agent coming up in the coming election may be paid close to about 20 to 15,000 naira or even more than that? And the political party who are running election are supposed to pay for that agent, and that's one of almost, if now I'm saying 120,000 polling units, and they have agents.
Just to be clear,
where would the political party get that money?
Yunusa,
fine. They're supposed to get it from the membership due.
Just to be clear, who pays these people that you talked about, the amount of money that you talked about?
Is the party.
It is the political parties that will pay for the agents.
Can you also confirm, because there are those who believe that INEC usually gives some monies to political parties?
No kobo. Exactly. Now, you are coming to the point now, Ayo. Okay. INEC stopped giving political party money in 2006, and they gave only 6 million naira for an election in Anambra State. And that was the last time they gave money. And that encourages people now to have these particular godfathers who railroad on the political parties. But if you have a seed money that you use for administrative purposes in your party, it will go heavily in reducing the kind of command and direction, kind of control that these godfathers have. If the political party wants to pay for agents, you have to look for money. If you want to pay for processing of forms, you have to look for money. If you have to move party members from one party polling station to another, you have to pay. You have to look for money. So practically, there are basic administrative amounts that is needed by each of these political parties. And once they don't have it, they only go cap in hand to the governor.
Okay, just a quick one, Mr. Unisa, because there's something you said the other time, Mr. Daniel, I'll come to you, right quick. But there's something you said the other time when we talked about party structure, which is, of course, what will be part of the elements of the internal democracy of each political party. Yeah. You kind of made money a critical element in the internal democracy of a political party. That's the way it sounded.
Yes.
Is that the thing? What are the components of internal democracy in a party, or what are the components of a party structure?
Clearly, you must have members in the wards. You must be guided by the 4 elements which I mentioned earlier on, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Electoral Act, the Constitution of the party, and then bylaws. Yeah. These are very fundamental. Then the party decide if they have X amount of money. For example, money supposed to be generated from the local. In my party, for example, when we generate money from the national, we give the ward 75% of what we generate. 25% come to the national. If the state generates, it will take 75% and it gives 25% back.
How does your party generate money? You just complained about the fact that members don't pay money. Yeah. How does your party generate money?
Exactly. We before you can be a member in NCP, you will pay 600 naira as a peasant farmer, 1,200 naira if you are employed. These are the money that we generate. But of course, you look at this particular amount of money, you can say it's nowhere, but we generate it from the party members. But because of the situation in which we find ourselves now, many members do not pay these dues. People who have a humongous sum of money control them and pay the money on their behalf. And that particular money now translates into what we have to take care of administrative expenditures.
Okay.
No party can survive without money to run its administration. Okay. It can't be possible. Okay. And that is the reason why majority of them have subjugated their leadership to governors, to certain individuals, House of Assembly members, without really having the money.
Let me ask Mr. Daniel, you want to respond to some things?
Yes, I agree with him that there should be provision for funding for the parties.
By who?
By government.
By government. But then, the number of parties should be pruned down by legislation. So that if it is 3 or 4...
Why should government fund political parties?
Like he rightly said, and I agree with him, funding. If you don't have fund coming in from the government, for example, you have no choice than to rely.
Are you asking government, my apologies, yes. Mr. Daniel, are you asking government to create political parties because you only fund what you create?
Since political parties are meant to take over governance, you understand? There's nothing wrong in government giving them some fund. The only thing I will add to that as a rider is that the number of parties should be pulled down by legislation. That is 1. Then 2, I think I also agree with him. There is no way we can totally stop rich members of party releasing funds with the intention of controlling some of the structure of the party. The only way we can stop it again, like I said, is by legislation. Maybe reduce the amount to be given by each individual. But legislation can help us, in other advanced climes.
My apologies, Mr. Daniel. I mean, I'm still at a loss because if I'm government, you expect me to fund the party I didn't create. What's my investment? What's my stake? I'm going to have to bring in my own members.
And then I will interfere.
Exactly.
No, look,
not intervene, interfere.
Excuse me.
With the running of those parties.
No. Excuse me. We are not talking of a social organization. We are not talking of that. We are talking of an organization that will bring persons to take over the administration of government. You understand? So it is different from a social organization. Now, if you don't we are throwing this up, and we hope those who are listening to us will take it up. We have to be realistic. If fund, and then the government usually gives money to INEC, but do they intervene in their internal activities? They don't. If you don't provide money, well, not officially. Not officially. Officially, they cannot. You can't stop people from interfering realistically, but officially and legally, they are not supposed to interfere.
Because they are independent.
Yes, they are not. So
what will stop the president from now poking his nose into the activities of all the political parties which government has given money to?
My dear, I've said it here in channels, that until you make the appointment of the person overseeing INEC a constitutional thing, you make the Attorney General office a constitutional appointment thing, the Auditor General constitutional, we will continue to have issues. So if the...
What do you mean constitutional? Because
that
they're in
is
constitution.
Not by appointment, not that the president can just decide to appoint any person there. It should be, if we are institutionalizing our,
You're saying it should be elective?
No. For example, if you are going to be the Attorney General, you should have this qualification, you should have this basic thing. So persons or group of persons or agencies should recommend you, not left at the winter capital of the president. We have to stop that. If you don't stop that, there is no way, even if he's not doing it officially, that you can stop the president from, if the president decides to call the INEC chairman today, he won't say no. So finally, I know you are pushing on to the end.
Yeah.
I want to say that party internal democracy is difficult for us to change the old order, but we can change it. And the change has started. Now, people are taking Nigerian politics much more serious. And what caused it? What happened recently in the primaries?
Okay.
Caused it. So I want to encourage us. And then I hope the rich few politicians will not sabotage the ongoing registration.
Okay.
I also heard my friend saying that the time is short. I gather INEC should, postpone the registration exercise so that a lot of Nigerians will not be
that word has been going out to them. Mr. Yunusa, your final words on this in 10 seconds.
Okay, let me say this clearly. INEC has announced that there are a lot of voters' cards uncollected. As we speak to you today, there is a large number of voters' cards not collected. But I have advised also that these names should be published, and then people should go all out in their localities to go and collect their PVCs to run this election. And let me make a clarification. My position as regard to people registering as members of the political party is to help them to help in making decisions. That does not in any way stop them from partaking in the election. And we pray that the people that you people will vote for will be something that will give us the change that we are all looking for. So go out, and if you have registered before, go and look for your PVC and run and vote for the candidate of your choice. At the same time, vis-a-vis, make sure you register to a political party so that the decision that is being made will be the decision that is built in your own interest.
National Chairman, National Conscience Party, Alhaji Tanko Yunusa, who joined us from our studio in Abuja, and we had a legal practitioner who joined us in our studio in Lagos, Mr. Tony Dania.
Thank you.
And just before we go, kudos to all the young people who have gone out to register, and more grease to your elbow. Sunrise will be right back with another topic.
Thank you for staying with us. Ahead of the World Sickle Cell Day, as you've seen there, which will hold on the 19th of this month, some members of the Sickle Cell Foundation are here to tell us about the lineup for the day. Of course, ladies first, as I say, we have them both. Mrs. Ayo Otaigbe is a director in Sickle Cell Foundation of Nigeria and head of department genetic counseling at the National Sickle Cell Center, Lagos. She is also a lead genetic counseling trainer for counselors all over Africa. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much.
We also have Mr. Yemi Onijala, who is of the DNA Laboratory at the National Sickle Cell Center. He is coordinator of the Bone Marrow Transplant Program at the Sickle Cell Foundation and a representative of Sickle Cell Foundation and the Coalition of Sickle Cell NGOs. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Madam, the conversations around sickle cell scares many people. Are they justified?
Come again.
The conversation around sickle cell scares a sizable number of people. Are their fears justified?
That many people have sickle cell disorder.
That they are afraid of any
yes,
conversation
many
around
people
it.
are afraid of sickle cell disorder because they believe that people with sickle cell, they don't live long. And even if you have one that's living, you spend a lot of money in caring for them. So they are always scared, they are always devastated when they are told, oh, your child is SS. Devastated, that they'll be spending all their money economically and all that. And you know that in Nigeria, you put money down in this hospital before you are looked after. We don't have national health insurance yet.
So their fears are not unfounded.
They are not unfounded.
The fears you've just spoken about are not myths. They are the reality.
They are reality. They are real. They are real.
But that's not to say that it's a hopeless situation.
It's not a hopeless situation because there's improvement. It's improvement in the affairs of people with sickle cell disorder. It's improving every day. That's why we see a lot of them now. They live to old age. We have some of them who are retired doctors, their grandmothers. They're like over 70 years of age. A lot of them. Some are entrepreneurs. They own their companies and all that. Some are working in banks, accountants, lawyers of big companies. I remember we wanted to sponsor somebody the Sickle Cell Foundation Nigeria wanted to pay school fees for one of the SS person in a private school because the parents lost their jobs, and the money was 400 and something thousand to pay for that semester in a private university. So we just phoned one of it's a lawyer, SS. Professor Akinyoju just called her that we have a problem at hand. This girl has gone far in the university, is also studying law and all that we need to pay almost 400,000 naira for her because the parents cried and came to meet us at the foundation. We didn't know them before. So the lady just said, okay, we should send the Sickle Cell Foundation account number. And she paid it into that. Then we now pay the university. That's SS. Doing very well in the job. So it's much, it's getting better.
Okay.
But we still need to do a lot more.
Now, Yemi, the foundation has been carrying out a lot of campaign. Has the campaign been yielding any results? And I'm asking this especially in the area of the number of sickle cell patients in Nigeria. Is the number reducing as a result of the campaign that the foundation has been carrying out? And I know for a fact that many young people actually go to do blood tests now before they get married.
You're right. Well, I would say the number is actually reducing, but because at the moment, we don't really have the data in Nigeria to ascertain what number of individuals has a sickle blood. If we're looking at it generally, we have a major problem in Nigeria, and that is wrong diagnosis in Nigeria. Yes. We have so many mushroom laboratories that are giving out wrong results, which is increasing the number of sickle cell patients that we are having in the country. And that is what we were discussing when we were coming in. I said, somebody just walked into a laboratory, a private laboratory, and said he wanted to run a genotype test. And they said, okay, it's 3,000 naira. I said, wow, this is high. Somewhere around there, maybe in Mushi or somewhere in Nuku, this 500 naira. What would you expect from somebody that is doing a genotype of 3,000 naira and somebody who's seeking for genotype of 500 naira?
Is that to say it is expensive?
And the equipment is actually expensive. to run the genotype. Because I remember when I was working with a private institution, the genotype machine that we're using, we bought that machine at the rate of 10,000 naira. When I get to Sickle Cell Foundation, Nigeria, and I saw a linear machine, I asked the scientist, I said, how much did they get this machine? He said, this machine is 950,000 naira. Now, what do you expect from the genotype machine of 10,000 and the one of
So the
950?
10,000 one is not telling you the truth.
It's not telling you the truth.
Okay, perhaps that's where the beginning of our educating or the kind of education we need to give to people should start from, because unless this condition, this situation, this medical condition is social status biased, or gender biased, or social class biased, if everyone, it's something that can happen to anyone, then it wouldn't matter what strata of society the person is.
Yes, you're right.
Or are there peculiarities?
Well, there are peculiarities to all this stuff, because I'm looking at it from different angle. If you look at genotype that you get looking from the north, let's take all these northern states, for instance. What we are now planning right now at the Sickle Cell Foundation Nigeria is, why can't we go deep into the north and preach this gospel of genotype to them? Because I was in Benue last November. I realized that prenatal diagnosis to determine the genotype of unborn child is not spreading at all in Benue. So many doctors are not even aware. They were even telling me that, Jamie, does this thing exist in Nigeria? I said prenatal diagnosis that we've been doing for over 9-10 years in Lagos. And you are asking me whether it's existing. So these people, they are not aware of all this information, the importance of genotype to them. And I was telling Mrs. Otsaibe before we came, I said, we have a lot to do. When couples are getting married, it's beyond churches or mosque checking whether you are pregnant or not, because that is their major focus, whether you are pregnant before the marriage or not, or probably you have HIV. We should be checking their genotype as well. Because if you are not checking genotype, we are going to be increasing the number of sickle cell children we are going to be having in the society.
Perhaps a good place to start, madam, let me bring this to you, would be to even let people understand the consequences. We'll come to the program that you have for the June 19. Perhaps the reason is to even let people know the consequences of not paying attention to these things. What are the consequences when people do not give attention to education about genotype? What are the consequences of having sickle cell?
The point is that, like genetic counseling, the counselors, we do non-directive counseling. And people who think that because if you do counseling, people will just stop going into the marriage. If the husband-to-be or the wife-to-be, they are both ASCS. If you think they will not go into the marriage, because all of them, it's not all of them. Some still decide to go into the marriage, even after counseling. We do prospective couples at risk. We call them prospective couples at risk genetic counseling. They come for counseling to know whether they should go ahead and marry or not. We find out that some of them have already made up their mind to get married. They are waiting for what the genetic counselor, if the genetic counselor just says anything that doesn't agree with our opinion, we will not even come back to her, even if we say come back for anything. We've already, there was a time I was to counsel somebody. The pharmacist's brother followed, the sister followed, the auntie followed. Then this is the boy, this is the girl, both AS. Before they entered, I just told the relations to wait in the waiting room first. Let me talk to them. They told me, they showed me the invitation card. We've already printed our wedding invitation card, so they are wasting their time. Okay. We just want to know about sickle cell. We just come to acquire the knowledge, what sickle cell is all about, how it will affect the child, how, that is all. We've already made up our mind, so they are wasting time. Yeah. So I talked to them. I called all of them. They all sat down because we don't hold information. We must educate everybody. That comes from counseling. So I counsel them. I told them the relations. I said we cannot make up. We can't tell them go ahead or don't go ahead. We've told them all the implications. Everything about sickle cell affects the child, the complications, we say everything. So they will make up their mind. So I told them.
But what are these implications?
Of
Yes.
There are some complications that can affect a sickle cell child, but not all of them. And when they are well looked after, let's say at 6 months, they bring them for hemoglobin genotype test. We test them, and they are SS or SC or anything. Then the management starts from there immediately. When they are managed from early childhood, they do well. But more than those who have already got complications before you start managing them. So we catch them young. When you catch them when they are little babies, they do well because they will be under hematologists, doctors who are specialized in looking after sickle cell children. We don't want to see them only when they are sick. They go for regular checkups. So if anything is going to happen to the heart, it will be picked up, they will be treated. That complication will go. If it's the bone, anything, because it can affect any organ.
Wow.
In the body.
Mr. Onijala, to these complications, are people really aware how severe it can get? How disturbing, how distracting it can get? Do you think people watching us now, listening to you, understand significantly how impactful this thing can be both on their lives and the lives of their offspring?
I doubt that so many people are aware of this complication. Unless you visit Sickle Cell Foundation or you have seen a sickle cell patient manifesting the real crisis. So many people don't know that sickle cell patient used to have what you call priapism. Priapism is when the male organ rise and does not come down for a week, for 2 weeks. So many people don't know that it happens to sickle cell patient, but it does. So many people don't know that sickle cell patients do have what you call leg ulcer. Everybody believes that ulcer is always for inside. Okay, you have it inside. But sickle cell patients have their own ulcer on their leg most time. And it's going to be a very wide wound that it might not heal for years. It can be there for as long as 5, 6, 7 years. We call it leg ulcer. They will be carrying the wound there on their leg. Sickle cell patients, they do have stroke. When you mention stroke, I'm sure to you believe that, okay, stroke is majorly for adults, right? But do you know that sickle cell children, they used to have stroke between age 2 and 16? I remember there was a patient that comes in from Lu. They gave the patient referral letter. They said, go and do transcranial Doppler. Transcranial Doppler is a scan that we used to do to check if a child is going to have stroke or not.
Break down this English.
Okay, we call it TCD. TCD.
Because it's very heavy.
Okay.
Brain scan. Call it brain scan.
Oh, okay, we call it brain scan. Okay, brain scan. It's majorly meant for sickle cell children between age 2 and 16. So they actually refer this patient down to come and have this scan done. When the mom came around, it's okay. I wanted to do TCD, this brain scan. We said, okay, we have about 5 people on ground. Can you just hold on? When they are done, then it now comes. Oh, no. I don't have this time. I don't have the time. I need to go and look after my business. I'll come back next week. By the time this woman is coming back next week, that young man that they brought that day, he walked into our office. The next time they are bringing the boy back, it has already had stroke. He couldn't walk again. And I told the boy, I said, see, your problem starts with this woman. She has time for her business. She doesn't have time for you. So they do have stroke between age 2 and 16. And many people don't know that sickle cell patients do have stroke. Apart from stroke, we still have so many other things like bone pain crisis, that they will have pain that it will be so consistent that it will not just leave. The pain will not just leave. I barely stand one of my friends when I was looking at her when she had crisis, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. She was in our office for exchange blood transfusion. I was looking at having pain. I couldn't stand it any longer. because we are so close. I say, how can human being be in this kind of pain? She's not forming the pain. The pain is just there. Every joint, you feel the pain. Everywhere, you just be feeling pain. And where some people just be walking around the street, nothing, I'm good. So when we're advocating that, okay, go ahead and check your genotype before marriage, we know what we are talking about. It's not because you are bringing burden on us. You are also bringing burden on yourself. You are bringing burden on your own finances because it's not easy to manage a sickle cell child.
Okay. When you were talking just now, you said blood exchange transfusion.
Yeah, we call it EBT. Exchange blood transfusion.
What is that?
Exchange blood transfusion in US and in UK, they do it routinely for sickle cell patients.
But they don't have too many, do they?
No, they don't have many.
It's a black thing, isn't it?
It is a black thing, but they have a very good society that caters for their citizens. But down here, we don't.
Okay.
So for exchange blood transfusion, if we see a child that maybe is at risk of having stroke, then we need to do exchange blood transfusion for that child so that we can quickly take that child off that stroke. If we see a patient that is having...
So what is the exchange? What are you exchanging the blood in his body, taking that one out and putting another?
We are taking the sickle cell blood out of the patient. Then we are giving the patient only AA blood. So we just take the sickle, you are reducing the level of sickling.
Okay.
Probably you take like maybe 6 pints, depending on the weight of the patient. Sometimes we can take up to like 10 pints out. Okay. Then we transfuse 10 pints immediately.
So does that help the patient?
It seriously helps the patient. It takes them off the pain very fast.
So why isn't this normal treatment for a sickler then? This exchange blood. Once you discover that your child has sickle cell, you take your child in for an exchange blood transfusion.
It is
so that the child now has more AA blood.
It is actually expensive.
Okay.
So that's where the problem is. It's
right.
Expensive.
You know, this gets very interesting.
Conditions that warrant exchange blood
what conditions?
It's not just generic.
Like acute chest syndrome. They will be breathing, they can't breathe well. Something is happening in the chest that will make them to be breathing. And if care is not taken, within few hours, the child can die. Or even adults, it can happen to adults, it can happen to children. They can advocate exchange blood transfusion that. Then the one he said now, like stroke, to reduce the percentage of the excess. And the sickle cell in the blood.
Obviously.
To put AA, but you know it will only last for some time because the bone marrow will still produce sickle cell and the sickle cell. It's from the bone marrow.
Sometimes people have to go for exchange blood several times.
Yes.
And depending on
it depends on what
hematology prescription.
Depends on the.
If she's okay, go ahead and be having it every 3 weeks.
It sounds like we need
3 weeks.
Yes.
It sounds like we need to have a full course on sickle cell 101 or 102 or 103 for all of this because it's a lot more serious. It sounds than so is this part of this perhaps is part of the reason for this celebration that you're thinking about. What's on the lineup for this for you on June 19th?
It's the sickle cell. I mean, what sickle cell day is June 19th celebrated globally. Yeah. So the Sickle Cell Foundation joins every year to celebrate it, as designated by the United Nations. So we always have a lineup of activities.
What's on your lineup this year?
The flagship event is the annual public lecture on sickle cell disorder, and the importance of self-care. That is the title of the lecture. The importance of self-care. It's always good when they know how to care for themselves, as just to enhance the quality of life. That's the title. The importance of self-care in enhancing the quality of life. And we are privileged to have a professor of medicine. He's a distinguished, internationally renowned professor of medicine who is coming to is the main speaker for the day. He's a professor of medicine, hematology, HEMA, oncology is coming from Obafemi Awolowo University Teaching Hospital, Ile-Ife, and it's Professor Nora Akinola. He has done series of, he has led a series of research work on sickle cell disorder, including newborn screening. Somebody I know. He has also done, we've trained her on genetic counseling. So it's a big professor who is well experienced. Is coming that the main speaker. There are other speakers. Other speakers.
But the CV that you have read out actually says that she's a very big person in the industry. But
yes,
Mr. Nijala, I also understand that you are atop the charity work.
Exactly. Well, part of our program for this World Sickle Cell Day, I think last week we had a quiz competition within Lagos State schools, where we have about 25 schools in attendance for quiz competition. Everything just about sickle cell, just to enlighten them about sickle cell. And it was a fantastic program. And 2 days ago, we had a free medical outreach at Igondo, that is Alimosho local government. And we have close to 2,000 people in attendance coming for free medical. And then we also share this word of sickle cell to everyone there that is in attendance.
Did you discover any one of them who had sickle cell?
We have major problem. We have a major problem at Igodo. We realize that we have so many patients that they don't know they are sickle cell. So many, they just
I wanted you to finish on the lineup. So you now give us the common signs.
Okay.
But finish with the lineup first. Okay.
So we have that the outreach last 2 days ago at Igondo, and our next program is the Coalition of Sickle Cell NGO. We are going to be having a charity walk. That will be 18th of June at Unity High School, Oshodi, opposite Mikio. The school is actually facing the main express. In the past, we've been working, but most of the work is on the island. We work in Ikoyi, you work in Lekki, so why can't we just bring it down to the grassroots this time around? So that is the major reason why we are bringing the work this year to Oshodi, and it comprises of all the sickle cell NGO. And what makes this year work unique, we are not only working in Lagos, we are doing it simultaneously with Warri, and we are doing it along with Abuja as well. So Delta. So we are working simultaneously, the same time, the same hour, and the media is going to be carrying it. At least we'll be able to propagate the news of sickle cell around the world.
Now we're almost out of time. And with this, the question that Laura asked you earlier, what are the signs that those who may have it and not know it should pay attention to, and for which reason they should, seek medical help immediately?
Okay. Like one of the patients that we saw at Igondo recently, the woman said, my daughter is having aromolegun. It's just bone pain. I said, what have you been doing? I said, okay, I've been taking this child to one local help, so they always do massage. I said, ma, this is not aromolegun.
What is aromolegun anyway?
Aromolegun.
Like a bone, pain in the bone.
Okay.
Now this child is having pain in the bone, so they just thought, okay, maybe it's something normal. Okay, let us go and be doing massage. I said, your child is a sickle cell. Your child is not having aromolegun. Your child is displaying crisis. This is a real crisis. And sometimes you see the hand, for children, you see their hand becoming swollen. So you quickly take those children to the clinic. Okay, run the genotype. And also, the moment they get married and you're having a child, probably you have not checked your genotype before. You can still check the genotype because of the other children you are going to be having. I know a patient that has a family that has 4 SS. First one SS, second one SS, third one SS, fourth one SS. I know them. So they will just think, okay, maybe we are having spiritual attack in our family, that they are making the whole family to be sick. They called me last week, and I said, okay, what about the firstborn? How is he doing? The mother said, we have lost the first child. I said, what happened? He said, he committed suicide. I said, why did he commit suicide? The mother said, he wrote a note that there is a lot of pain in our family. Let me reduce the pain, and he commits suicide. So sometimes this thing is not a rocket science. We can all go to a very good standard laboratory and run genotype. and be sure of our status.
Well, every time we talk about any issue on this program, it's just a conversation starter so that you can listen to the severity of the issues that are being raised and take action, because information, they say, has potential power. Taking action, acting on that information, that is the power. We have to thank you both at this time and can only wish you the best, in this year's World Sickle Cell Day celebration. Mrs. Ayota Ibe is a director in Sickle Cell Foundation Nigeria and head of department genetic counseling at the National Sickle Cell Center, Lagos. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
As well as Mr. Yemi Onijala, who is of the DNA laboratory at the National Sickle Cell Center, Lagos. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
Well, this is definitely something very concerning, but hey, you need to do what you need to do. We're back after now. There's 1 or 2 more information segments to take on. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Thank you for staying with us. Now we're going to be looking at the international colloquium. International colloquium, which is organized by the Men's League of Christ Church, Port Harcourt. Well, to tell us more about it, it's my pleasure to welcome Engineer Stanford Tassi, who joins us from our studio in Abuja. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, it's you have this event. Well, maybe you want to give us all the information about it, Engineer Tassi. It's the forum, right?
Yes, that's correct. The forum, it's
okay. Go ahead, please.
Okay, the forum, it's a one-day international colloquium. It's a gathering of God's people to discuss the issues of nation building, the economy, and comparative developments as well. It's a gathering to help change the narrative of leadership in our nation, Nigeria, to impact government policies and to inculcate values, the right values to our youth and to the next generation. It's a program that the maiden edition was last year, 2021, but this year it's a program that it's scheduled to hold on June 12th every year. It's an annual event. The maiden edition was last year. This is the second edition, and it will hold on June the 13th in Port Harcourt, Aztec Akron Stadium Road, Port Harcourt. It's a program that's being organized by the Men's League of Christ Church, Port Harcourt. Christ Church is an ecumenical church. It's a worship center for 3 mainline churches in Nigeria. That's the Anglican, the Church of Nigeria Anglican Communion, the Methodist Church of Nigeria, and the Presbyterian Church of Nigeria. So we are coming together to try to discuss the issues of Nigeria and try to prefer solutions that will build a better Nigeria going forward.
Okay, Engineer Tassi, the question, you've talked about the fact that it debuted last year, if I heard you right. The first episode was
That's correct.
Last year. So is there an annual theme or sub-theme around which this whole forum is built?
Yeah, last year the theme was, what do Nigerians want? And we have evaluated the successes of last year, the maiden edition, and we have decided as a group to use that same theme again for this second edition, because what do Nigerians want? It's a resonating question amongst Nigerians now. We are in the penultimate year to the general elections. So what do Nigerians want is the main theme. Under that, we have 4 sub-themes, and they are the president Nigeria needs. The second is the economy Nigeria needs to break forth. The third is the state of insecurity in Nigeria. And the fourth is restructuring and true federalism in Nigeria. And we have 4 keynote speakers to take on these 4 4 topics. After the 4 keynote speakers, the 4 keynote speakers are as follows. Pastor Itwai Igodalo will be speaking on the President Nigeria needs. Ambassador Victoria Ikomo will be speaking on insecurity in Nigeria, while Professor Oyewo, SAN, will be speaking on restructuring and true federalism in Nigeria. The last topic, which is the economy Nigeria needs to break forth, will be taken by Dr. Ifie Sekibo, the MD of Heritage Bank.
Okay, Mr. Tassi, the forum debuted last year. What happened to the outcome of that first forum? Where was it sent to so that we can get the benefit of, taking advantage of the results that you came up with?
Okay, last year we issued a communique immediately after the program, and the communique was also published in the national dailies. It was very impactful because when we visited one of the state governors that participated last year, he told us that he was going to use the blueprint of the forum communique last year to drive government policies. And that's the whole idea. If a state governor can say that and he's actually doing that, that means that it was very impactful. Actually, and apart from that, the forum also includes to plan to partner with both public and private partners and organizations to develop programs in entrepreneurship, in governance, in leadership, and in human capital development for the young people, for the youth. We're also working on that as well. Apart from the talk show, we are working on that as well.
Yeah, Mr. Tassi, you said that you issued a communique which was published in the papers, and then one governor said that he would apply those things to policy formulation in his state. Do you find that satisfactory, that not more governors are bringing that on board in their various states? And are you making any overtures to the other states to discuss the communique with them?
Yes, we did make overtures, and we are still working on that. And that is why this year's event, it's unique, it's different. This year, we are reaching out to 3 presidential candidates of 3 political parties. We are reaching out to the presidential candidate of the APC, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We are reaching out to the presidential candidate of the PDP, the person of Waziri Adamawa, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, and we are reaching out as well to the person of His Excellency Peter Obi, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party. As we speak now, Peter Obi, His Excellency, has confirmed that he will be with us. I'm in Abuja. I've been in Abuja for some days now, reaching out to the campaign organizations of the other 2, PDP and APC. And the idea is to bring them on board, for them to come and share with us the vision and the passion that they have for our nation, Nigeria, and also to answer a few questions from the audience and from the online participants, because this program will be streamed live on Channels TV and on all our social media handles. So to answer your question, we are taking it higher than the governors. We are now trying to engage the presidential aspirants so that they can, come in and hear what the keynote speakers are talking about, and they will also learn a few things and try to take some things home, so that if they are successful as the next president of Nigeria, they will be able to imbibe, and they'll be able to imbibe some of those policies, in their programs.
Okay, well, one of the things that, it's gratifying that, you are reaching out to, the highest, office in the land, the highest office in the land. I'll come to whether or not, how the proprietary or otherwise of your body coming up with this program being a church. But there are those who would say that, I mean, you've reached out to the governor and you are reaching out to the presidents or presidential candidates to speak to Nigerians about their plans. But there are those who are wondering, the lowest level of government are the ones that is the one that reaches the people directly, and that is the local government level. Do you think, what's your thinking about that? Because there are those who are wondering, well, Abuja is too far away, the state capital is too far away, but the local government chairman is quite close to me. You know, I mean, what would be your response to them?
Yes, my response to that is that we have reached out as well to Algon. We have reached out to them, that the Association of Local Government Chairmen in Nigeria. We have written to them, and we believe that many of them will attend the program or join online to follow the program. It's very important that people at the grassroots, that is being managed by the local government chairman and the executives at that level, participate in a program like this. As I said, we've reached out to Algon. Okay.
Well, one question that's been on my mind since the conversation began is, you are from a church, and there are those who are wondering, what's this got to do with a church, or how is this a serious concern for a church, or churches, as you said?
Okay, for us as a church, it's part of the initiative to be a responsible organization. It's actually part of the scripture says in the book of Genesis chapter 1 that we should dominate, the earth. We should influence the earth, and we should do all those things. The scripture says that we should pray for our leaders. But as a church, we can't just stop. We can't just stop at praying. The Bible says that prayer, that faith without works is dead. So we can't just keep praying. As a church, we have decided to come out and do something more than praying. We have decided to come out and engage the people, engage the politicians, engage our leaders, engage our youths, engage them so that the narrative for Nigeria can change, so that we can have a better Nigeria. So it is a responsibility of the church to influence governance. It's a responsibility of the church to influence leadership. It's also the responsibility of the church to impact the youth and the entire citizenry of a nation. So it's not out of context for a church to do what we are doing.
Most certainly not. But that comes to my mind is, what are your expectations? The plan is to have this program broadcast live on national television, which will reach virtually everyone anywhere in the world. But what are your expectations? What are the objectives that the forum hopes to achieve?
Okay, we have many objectives. One of them, as I said, is to affect leadership in Nigeria. And the next one is to develop programs, that will impact the youth positively in the area of entrepreneurship, capacity building, and governance. The next objective is to be a voice. Let the voice of the church be heard, from this program as well. Then we are also looking at developing things, developing programs, as I had earlier said, so that the future generation can have something to look up to.
Okay, is that all there is to? Because I mean, I would expect, forgive me, but I would expect that the hope is to actually provoke some action from the citizenry as well. Is that part of the plan?
Yes, that's also part of the plan. Okay. We are talking and we are engaging different sects of people. We're engaging the youth. We are engaging different. We are engaging at different levels. The whole idea is that at the end of the day, and it's a long-term thing that we are looking at. It's not about the next election. No, it's not about 2023. It's a long-term project. It's a project for a new Nigeria. It's a project to birth a new nation. It's a project for the next generation. It's a generational thing. We are being visionary in our thinking. It's not about now. So the things that we are talking about will bring about the new thinking, will bring about the new thinking amongst our people, so that people can begin to think futuristic and not think and not be thinking after the next election. We're not talking of the next election. We are talking way, way, way further than that.
Mr. Tassi, does your engagement with the youth also includes trying to convince them to get into the political process in Nigeria, starting from getting their voters' cards and then going into politics by joining political parties and putting themselves forward for public office?
Of course, that's part of our engagement. We are engaging them at that level. We are also bringing the Independent National Electoral Commission to the church to register voters in the church, and we are talking to them through our social media handles. We talk to them, we engage them, and there's a lot of followership, coming from the youth. We are desirous of birthing a new nation, and we know that the future of Nigeria lies with the youth.
What kind of responses have you been getting from them?
We've been getting very positive responses. Some of them have been asking about the programs that we are talking about. Some of them have been asking about how to attend the program. Some of them have been, different positive responses. The responses have been very positive. And some of them have actually volunteered, to join. And those who have volunteered to join this program, many of them are not members of our church at all. Okay.
Are you expecting them in large numbers to attend this particular event?
Yes, the venue that we have can seat 2,000 people. So we are expecting over 2,000 people. But the interesting thing is that this program will be streamed live on Channels TV, and it will be streamed live as well on all our social media handles. Okay. Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube handles.
So what would you consider to be the high point of this coming event?
Well, the high point of this coming event is the dimension of bringing in the three presidential candidates, because we are the first group that is bringing them together. The APC presidential candidate, the person of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has just won the primaries. And there's no platform that has brought three of them together. So we are trying to do that, and that's what we think will be the high point. If three of them, attend the program and they are engaged and they speak to Nigerians about their vision and passion for Nigeria, their vision and passion for the generations, to come. And I think that will be a very, very good place, to step on going forward.
We will be eager to hear from them too, so we'll keep our fingers crossed on your behalf that you're able to get all three of them to turn up at the forum.
Yeah. Well, one other thing. Well, so many things to take you up on, Engineer Tassi, but just to be clear, I mean, you've talked about engaging various people, various groups of people for this event. Who would you say are the target audience for this event, the forum?
The target audience are our leaders, the politicians. The target audience includes the youth. The target audience actually is every Nigerian. It's actually every Nigerian. Though we have emphasis on the leaders and the youth, but every Nigerian that hears the message, every Nigerian that wants a better Nigeria, every Nigerian, no matter where you are, whether you are local or you're international, you're in diaspora, this These are our target audience, and we expect everybody to be, to engage our politicians, everybody to engage ourselves, and let's talk and discuss about moving our nation forward.
All right. Just to be clear, if you can give us a quick rundown of the event again. The event is the forum. It's an international colloquium. The date, the time, and some other details, the speakers, the theme, and the sub-theme.
Okay. The event is the forum, and it will be taking place on June the 13th, Monday, at the Aztec Atrium, Stadium Road, Port Harcourt. The speakers are Pastor Paul Ighodalo, who will be speaking on the President Nigeria Needs. The second speaker is Dr. Ambassador Victoria Ikomu, who will be speaking on the insecurity in Nigeria. The third speaker is Dr. Ifie Sekibo, who will be speaking on the economy Nigeria needs to break forth. And the fourth speaker is Professor Oyelowo Oyewo, who will be speaking on restructuring and true federalism in Nigeria.
What time does it start at the...
Oh, it's 11 a.m. Okay. The start time is 11 a.m. Okay. 11 a.m. and it will run for 4 hours. Okay. So we expect that by 3 p.m. we should be done. And 11 a.m. on Monday, June the 13th, 11 a.m. at the Aztec Atrium.
Okay.
Then you can join us on Facebook. You can join us on Facebook. Our Facebook handle is the Forum Nigeria. Our Twitter handle is @forum_NG. And our YouTube handle is the Forum Nigeria. And the Instagram handle is the Forum CCPH. You can reach us through the following telephone numbers as well: 080-33-403-579 and 0704-213-2217. I can repeat that again. The telephone numbers are 080-33-403-579 and 070-421-32217. Our handles: Facebook, the Forum Nigeria; Twitter @theforum_NG; YouTube, the Forum Nigeria; and Instagram, the Forum CCPH.
Okay. So we wish you all the best on Monday, Mr. Tassi, and we pray that you do get the 3 aspirants that you mentioned earlier.
And desired mileage for the program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So Sunrise will be right back with the home stretch. Do stay with us.
Well, thank you for staying with us. The question is, well, that song is talking about dance like the king.
And show me your color.
That's just a sample. Come on. Our guest is, of course, as you've seen in the song, Dr. Sid. He is from Delta State, born and raised in Lagos. His mother, a fashion designer, and father, Justice Asiri, an actor.
Was.
Yes, he was an actor. This is a way you consider inside studio, so, okay?
He's just showing off to us.
I'm always working.
You're always working. Okay, yes, good to have you here. Well,
I'm honored to be here.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would have preferred you to be here, and not here across the sea. But anyway, I'm going to forgive you for now. You are hereby subpoenaed to show up here physically the next time we have you here. However, well, it's been a while. It would seem that no one hasn't quite heard from Dr. Sid as we used to. What's going on?
Yeah, well, I took, life is all about progress and changes. And for me, I think it was time to pivot into something else. So I've been doing music for over 20 years. And I've always had a life plan to transition into movies and television. So, after doing 20 years of music, I was like, I think I'd achieved almost everything I wanted to achieve in music. Won awards, I've performed at shows, I've had #1 records. And I think it was time to move on into something else. In 2015, I went to film school in Los Angeles, and I've always wanted to make a feature film and to follow, obviously, in my dad's footsteps and carry on his legacy in Nollywood.
Took you a while to do that.
It did. It did. I think for me, you know, what's more important than doing something is doing something well. And I've always been a big advocate for education. I think people need to learn. No matter what you're doing, you should have some form of education, either formal or informal, in the field you're trying to get into. So after going to film school in 2015, it was a lot of learning for me, because obviously the way things work in Los Angeles is very different from the way it works in Nigeria. So I had to go through a process of learning and adapting the knowledge I gained in LA to apply in Nigeria.
Interesting. Why didn't you go to Bombay? Don't answer that one for now. Okay. Well, so what's the transition been like for you? Well, right there you are in front of a microphone, which you used, as you said, as an instrument for 20 years. So,
Yes.
what's the transition been like for you? What necessitated the transition?
No, like I said, it's just natural progress. I mean, I'm not the young man I was when I was jumping on stage 20 years ago.
Well, you can say that for yourself, but Tubaba is no longer. It's not different.
Well, Tubaba is not jumping on the stage anymore like that. If you really check it.
Yeah, but he's still hugging the microphone. I'm just saying, you know.
Yeah, I know. Just for me, my trajectory is different. You know? I'm into a lot of things. So I'm into esports and gaming. I'm into film and television. You know, I own my own record label. So instead of hogging the microphone, I'm releasing new artists to take on the legacy to a next level and give back to a new generation of
just
artists.
Say you are a serial entrepreneur and you're humble.
Try.
Okay. So talk about this transition. You know, what's the transition been like for you?
Awesome. I mean, it's also the most challenging part is having to explain to people why you're not doing what they know you for. I think, you know, Nigerians are very used to putting people in a box and not opening to see them change or transition into something else. So when I say I'm no longer doing music actively, everybody looks at me as if I'm crazy. But I'm like, no, I'm doing something else. The same way you followed me for music, follow me for this. And right now, the most important thing for me is my movie, which just came out. And I'm really excited. I'm proud of the work that I put into that. And I want the whole world and all my fans that follow me in music to enjoy what I've created as well.
Now tell us, you have jettisoned dentistry altogether?
So, you know, I'm one of those guys that can't just leave something totally. So I don't practice as a dentist anymore, but I do have the Dr. Sid Foundation, which works very closely with Smile 360 and Project Smile to give people access to premium dental health care as a charity that I'm involved in. So I still have to dabble in that a little bit.
Wow. You certainly are a man of many parts. So just give us a list of all the things that you are now. You're a dentist?
So number one, I'm a father.
Non-practicing dentist?
Non-practicing dentist.
I
think
musician?
number one for me is a father, musician. I'm a record label executive. I own an esports team. I own an esports tournament organizing company. I'm building a fintech app. I'm a movie director and producer.
You definitely don't want to be a delegate.
That's 9.
Definitely.
That's 9.
Okay, now so this movie thing that you segued into, tell us about it. Did it catch you unawares? I mean, you talked about the shock therapy of sorts that it gave you because it was a completely different learning altogether. Learning in Los Angeles and not Bombay. I'm picking up on that. Yeah.
I know you have to explain this Bombay thing later. But I was humbled when I came back to Nigeria. I'm a guy who sees unicorns and rainbows. And when I came back to Nigeria, he showed me Okada and Mulue. So, you have to just understand that it's a different environment and the nuances are different and how you approach filmmaking is very different. So I took time, I directed a few music videos, I did a few short films to sort of get my feet wet. But I had this script that I put out since about 2017. It was written by a writer in America called Mike Shelton. And I felt the story just resonated with Nigeria and it was very relatable. So we got a few writers together and modified it for the Nigerian audience and took time developing the script so it would relate and resonate with us in Africa. Last year, I got a call from Film One Entertainment, and they said, look, the script I sent to them like 3 years ago, that they're ready to do it now, that am I interested? And it was a co-production that we struck together, and the process was just amazing. It was everything I envisioned it to be and a little bit more. The first thing they tell you in film school is that everything that can go wrong, that could possibly go wrong, will go wrong. And that definitely happened. But I believe I had a very, very strong team around me. My director of photography is Nora Awolowo. She is probably the youngest and only female director of photography to make a film in cinemas in Nigeria, which is groundbreaking for us in the movie as well. So we had a very strong team, and with the backing of Film One and Zero Gravity Studios, I think we did something that was really, really great. The reviews have been amazing.
Well, I can just imagine. Film One is not a small label. It's not a small platform.
No, it's not. I mean, they are probably the premium content curation platforms and distribution companies in Nigeria. And with what they've put together and how they approached this process, they gave me enough leeway to create what I wanted to create, but still had the experience to say, you know what, you need to do it this way and do it that way because of the audience. And based on our experience with distribution, this is what people like. So, you know, it was a very, very symbiotic partnership, and I look forward to making more products with them.
Now, you talked about your learning in, Los Angeles, and you compared unicorns and whatever it is to Okada, which is just the way it is. I referenced Bombay. You probably have referenced the tricycle. Now, I talked about Bombay the other time because, India is the world's foremost movie-making nation. You probably grew up on one or two of those Indian movies and their sing-songs yourself. I wonder if you had that in mind. But, what are the things that you would say are peculiar about Nigeria's movie industry that has justified your interest since you got into it?
Oh, I think Nigerians and Africans in general have very rich stories. We have very, very rich stories and a very rich culture. And we have an audience that's eager to consume content. I just think that we have to find, we have to improve the ways that we communicate said content. And for me, it's literally just about joining this amazing network and ecosystem that has been built by so many people over the years and adding my own quota to make it better. And hopefully one day we'll overtake Bollywood. Have
you always wanted to be a filmmaker?
Yes, to be honest, if I'm going to be very honest with myself, yes, I have. Following my dad to sets as a young boy, I love the process of filmmaking. I love the process of make-believe. I feel the power that film has to change perception and put questions in people's minds as to how things could possibly be is a really powerful tool. It was one of the reasons why I got into music in the first place. Just the ability to affect people's emotions and people's mind states with the content that you create was something that was too appealing to pass up. And I've always wanted to act and be behind the cameras, and I'm doing those two things. I'm somebody who chases my dreams and I live them, and then I create more dreams and move on to the next.
Well, it's only natural that you should be an actor, isn't it?
I guess so.
Yeah, well. Any other siblings in acting or entertainment?
I think my younger brother should probably try to dabble, but he's too involved in oil and gas to enter into entertainment.
Well, that's big enough for him. He also doesn't want to be a delegate, obviously. Speak to that industry issue, that we raised the other time as well, because it's one thing to have the interest, it's another thing to get into it. And whether you stay in there or not, that's another kettle of fish altogether. But you talked about Africans having very, very rich stories. That's one thing. Telling that story, and that's another thing altogether. What are the challenges that you had to encounter in getting this done? In the first place, it's a transition field for you, and you have, setting your feet on the ground solidly now. What are the rivers you had to cross, I's you had to dot, the T's you had to cross, the challenges you had to contend with to get to where you are?
So I think one of the biggest challenges in the first place is obviously getting the people who have the funding to believe in your idea. I think Nigerian corporates and people with money are they don't take chances on ideas. Everybody likes to jump on a moving train. Nobody wants to be a risk taker or to support the upcoming guy, because that's the only way innovation occurs, and that's how people grow. You can't come and eat the cassava when it is fully grown. You can, but it's better if you were part of the people that put the water and the seed and watched it grow.
But you blame them?
I do.
Really?
I do. Business in any manner or form is a risk and it's an investment. You assess your risk, but at the end of the day, you also have to have the ability to see potential. So that's one of the biggest problems. We don't see potential.
Sometimes it's perhaps not the problem of seeing the potential, but the environment in which the potential is existing could be very fluid and unpredictable. Maybe that's what the investor is trying to protect.
No, but we are the environment. We are the environment. If you think about the way the music industry grew, it was an unpredictable environment, but we, the stakeholders in the music industry, built the music industry from scratch without help from anyone, and then people jumped on it. But you can imagine if people had assisted from the beginning where the music industry would be. One of the biggest issues with making film in Nigeria is funding. It's very difficult to find funding, and after you make a product, that was I want to support you or jump on it.
And that is if the product is good enough to jump on.
Yes. But that's what I'm saying is business in itself. Investment is a risk. I'm a serial investor myself. Yeah. I'm invested in products that have failed. I'm invested in things that have been successful. But at the end of the day, I was part of the growth process. And I can beat my chest and say that I am part of some people's legacies, which is important as well. Anybody in the world that's coming to invest in Nigeria or anywhere else is still going to be taking a risk. If we look at Nigeria as a whole, the Nigerian environment is fluid and unpredictable, but are we going to say people shouldn't invest in Nigeria? No, we're going to still try to encourage people to be part of it. Some people will be successful and some people wouldn't. I think also to talk about the industry, one of the most difficult part was also the expertise and work ethic. Sometimes it's difficult to find people that have the same work ethic as you. But I was very lucky with having a team that sort of gelled with the way that I like to make films.
Okay. Very, very cheering things that one has heard now from you, and gratifying enough, you have been in the entertainment sector, so you know how it feels and all. Well, you talked about the music industry and how the individuals had to grow it to something that everybody wants to jump on. What are those things that you think, from your little experience and your learnings, need to be done in the movie industry in Nigeria to make it, to at least raise its stakes as close as possible to Hollywood? They have an industry that is established, that is standing well. They have gradations for their movies, ratings, and all those things. How do we get to that point without necessarily, playing around?
So I think for me, in this process, one of the first things I've noticed is that we don't have enough cinema houses. We don't have enough what you call viewing centers where people can actually go to consume your content. So when you look at the numbers, with the number of cinema houses available and the amount of money you need to produce a film, your budget of production is sort of capped because you can't take a risk with the amount of people that are going to be able to see your film. So I think one of the first things you need to do is invest in infrastructure. And then obviously for me, one of the things I've also noticed that we need to give people in the creative industry, not just movies, film and television, some form of rebates or incentives. There are so many people that want to get into but can't because the entry level is quite high. There are so many funds that have been created for the entertainment industry, but to access it, entry level people can't access it. You have to be a top dog or whatever. So I think, just balancing the way people can access funding to be able to create. Some people have brilliant ideas, but don't have the funding. We need to be able to create an enabling environment for creators to be able to do what they need to do. But obviously in the movie distribution business, the most important thing is to be able to get people in more areas of the country access to cinemas where they can actually watch the content that's being created. That in itself will increase the revenue generation, which will increase the budgets and the level of production and the production value that creators can put into their film. Because if I want to spend 250 million making a film, I'm not going to make it back in the cinemas because we don't have enough. So if I had enough cinemas that would give me a projection that I would make at least 200 back, I knew I'd make the remaining off ancillary sales from the digital streaming platforms. But when you don't have that marketplace, you're sort of capped with what you can do and how much you can invest.
But Sid, wouldn't you say that culture is coming back gradually? That cinema culture?
It is coming back gradually. There are lots of people who, I remember as a kid going to a local cinema house in my area in the streets to watch Indian movies or action movies. And that culture is coming back, but we just need to create more marketplaces. And because going to the cinema is not necessarily about watching the film in itself, it's an experience that you want to go and share with people or loved ones, or just be in an environment of a lot of people watching a film together. And we need to create more centers for people to be able to experience that.
Yeah, what was your experience directing your first movie? What was it like?
It was everything that I dreamed of. I mean, one of the things I learned, early on is that the energy of the director sort of dictates the pace of the entire film. So it was very important for me to keep my energy up and be positive and let the entire cast and crew feed from that. But it was also a quid pro quo situation where I would give sort of my pointers on how I felt the scene should go, but also give the actors liberty to express themselves and express the characters the way that they saw fit. So it was a good balance, and I think at the end of the day, the finished product basically showed what we intended. It was such an amazing experience to work with experienced actors. I mean, Binta Ayo-Mogaji is one of the most brilliant people I've ever seen. Yep. Toko Olunwonio gave an amazing performance. Timini Ebuso comes with it. He's one of those people that when you're in the scene with him, if you don't elevate your performance, you're going to feel left out. Obi Madu Ebuna, who is our lead actor, he delivered this role beyond my expectation. And I'm just blessed to have been put together with this team that brought my dream to life.
Tell us what this movie is about as we close.
So, I mean, the movie is it's called The Order of Things. It's literally a story about a young man who has no intention of getting married or getting involved in romantic relationships. But his younger brother has just proposed to his fiancée, and the mom won't allow the younger brother to get married unless he gets married. So we go on a series of dates and experiences as this lead character is trying to help his younger brother get married and then in the process find love. But it also begs the question that, is there an order? Should there be an order of things in everything? And sometimes you just have to let things go and slide with it.
I'm happy there is no scene in that movie that says, if you don't have a PVC, I won't marry you. Dr. Sydney Esiri, thank you so much for your time this morning, and we can only wish you the best, as you go on in your newfound field in entertainment. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Please, everybody, go watch The Order of Things. It's in cinema right now.
Okay. Dr. Seed brings to an end Sunrise for this day, this beautiful Saturday morning. Well, I hear it's drizzling outside or it's raining outside.
And it's June 12th tomorrow.
Yes, it's June 12th tomorrow, and the president is going to address that at 7 o'clock in the morning tomorrow.
And there is a special...
And it's a holiday on Monday.
Yes, and there is a special at 2 p.m. on Channels Television tomorrow. Our June 12th special is tomorrow, so stick with it. You'll love it.
Well, all we're saying is that just stay with Channels Television.
Don't go anywhere. Get stuck.
And we hope to see you next Saturday with a fresh edition of Sunrise. I'm Alero Edu, wishing you all the best until then, and happy holiday on Monday.
I'm Ayo Makinde. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Bye for now.